Well, here we are, everybody. We made it. And we're waiting for Mr. Gustavo to join us here. And he should be on soon here, I believe. I think I see him. Let me click him in. And let me make some adjustments. There we go. So I got everybody. Everybody is a nice square shape. We're all nice and square here. And so we welcome everybody to the show tonight. And we have our band of bandits here on the panel. We have Randall and Roy and Chuck and Gustavo. And David won't be joining us tonight. He's meeting with an old friend that he hasn't seen in quite a while, which is great, especially around the holidays, right? To see people that you haven't seen in a long time. So he should be joining us next week. And in the meanwhile, you have to suffer with those of us who you see on the screen right now. So you have a few seconds to run away if you want and watch the Hallmark Channel if you want. There's all those Christmas love story specials that you can dive into if that's what you want. So we'll say hi to we got Terry and Bob. Our photos is here. Jeff and Leslie, and Jeff is now okay. Jeff, since I see you in here, give me a second, and we will share something here. And let me see if I can save it and then bring it up. So I want to send out my congratulations to Jeff and Leslie, who are now grandparents.
Yeah.
So, so congratulations to you too, and I think you're going to have your hands full, and you're going to have a busy holiday. You're going to have a more interesting Christmas, and we hope everyone is doing well. And Wesley is taking a little teddy bear nap here, and then he'll be looking for Grandpa pretty soon, I'm sure. So. Congratulations to the both of you and your families, and hope everything continues to go well. And like I said, Christmas will never be the same now, they say.
Now we need a competition of baby photos between Jim.
Jim's got plenty, and we could have a maybe we got to do a special baby photo review.
Exactly.
all entries, all subjects in the entries have to be 4 and younger.
Congratulations, Jeff and Leslie.
We got
to both of you.
Robert Varner is here. Robert Daniels. Bob is here from Connecticut. And Mozman is here. Aloha all. Okay, I guess Mozman's in Hawaii. Yeah, he forgot. He's saying he forgot about the Hallmark channel. See ya. Yeah, hey, there's critical stuff on the Hallmark channel. My wife's watching that stuff right now. And here we go with Jim. Too much turkey and stuffing. There's no such thing as too much. Well, I was going to say that obviously we hope everybody had a fantastic Thanksgiving. And I'm assuming everyone has joined a fitness club to lose the 5 to 10 pounds that we just gained in a matter of, 48 hours, because we'll probably be having turkey leftovers or some sort of leftovers with turkey for the next 2 or 3 days, I'm sure. John's gonna pop in after he has his breakfast. And let's see. Jeff and Leslie, Mom and baby are fine. Dad is still in shock. Dad, Grandpa and Grandma are in awe. Now, if Dad's in shock, he had plenty of time to get ready for this.
That month.
That's not a good sign if the dad is in shock. But well, Mookie MC is here and Ted's here. And yes, Ted, I did enjoy my Thanksgiving, and I hope you did too. I hope you had a good one, and as well as everyone out there had a wonderful Thanksgiving. I hope it's a special holiday. There's no doubt about it. So to figure to kind of like kick off the show a little bit is it just with all the there are a few photo rumors here or there that we'll talk about, but for the most part, I mean, obviously, if you go on any of the photo channels or it's all about everybody having a great sale, whether Christmas special, holiday special, what have you. Every single manufacturer has sales going on right now, so that's mostly what you see when you go on any rumor sites is specials on software, upgrading software, Topaz, and all these other programs that are out there, as well as the long laundry list of camera bodies and lenses that are on sale by all the brands. So I'm curious, has anybody taken advantage of any of these deals around the holiday here to buy any new gear? I know Randall has. Has anybody else bought anything? And if so, and you don't mind sharing it, throw that in the chat. The only thing that I bought, or I should say my wife bought, for me, or it has is the Viltrox 16 millimeter. I did order that. I did get that.
Good choice.
Other than that, nothing much. Nothing much. But Albert's in here, which is great. Hello to Albert. See, Albert doesn't have to buy anything because he makes his own stuff.
That's what 3D printers are for.
Yeah, Albert just says, well, what do I want to create today? Find an old projector lens from someplace and modify it to go on a medium format or what have you, and he's all set. Sanjit's in the house. Hello, Sanjit. Hope you're doing well. Part of the show tonight is that I did get Sanjit sent me a link to a newly released video, which we'll talk about in a few minutes. And I'm going to try to share it through the channel. And then Sanjit can talk about it some more and we can ask him some questions. Wait a few minutes to start on that. But if for some reason trying to show it through Restream doesn't work too well, I'll then put the path for you in the chat so that you could just put it on in your computer and watch it on your computer, and we could take a however many minutes it is, everybody could watch it and then come back and talk about it afterwards. But we will try to do it through the channel first and see how that works. So John Ishii saying he just got back from China. Guangzhou, is that how you say that? And then tomorrow off to Beijing. So he's a traveling man, as they say. Where's that song? I'm a traveling man. And Mookie says he got an air fryer, good for cooking fish sticks, but awful at taking photos.
The Contini.
and Sanjit is actually, if you're allowed to actually enjoy the holiday season, that's probably pretty unusual for you, I would imagine, Sanjit. That's great if you get to take a break finally and relax a little bit. Everybody needs to take a break at some point. I'm going to throw it up here on the screen now as a reminder. Give me a second. And I know Gustavo knows what I'm going to do here. We're going to throw up a reminder for the photo review, which is next Saturday. Okay. December 7th, photo review. Currently, Randall, you said you sent me 4?
Yes. 2 in each.
We're up to 40 images. Is what we have right now for the photo review, and I understand. I didn't expect it to be high with everybody preparing for Thanksgiving and then trying to run around and get all the Black Friday deals and everything else. But hopefully, by the middle of this coming week, you'll have time to send me a handful of photos here or there, so we can bump up the count a little bit. So we got 40, not including what I have put aside for myself. So I will adjust what I throw in there based on what I get between now and next Friday. But everybody still has time to do it, so send some stuff in. And I know Chuck, being a big fan of film photography, that he's going to find this next story interesting.
All right.
Because, a recent story just got published that says Kodak is pausing film production to have a total shutdown in November for factory upgrades that are needed to meet the demands of film photographers, because they can't keep up with the demand for film. So they're actually upgrading their plant and to try to meet the demand. I guess in 2020, back in 2020, they announced it had doubled its production of still photography films between the years 2015 and 2019. So film is making a comeback, whether believe it or not. And the film Oppenheimer that you may or may not have seen was all done with specialty film that was provided by Kodak. That whole movie was done with film. It was not digital. So I didn't realize that at the time, but I read an article that Kodak had worked with the director there, and creator of the film, to come up with an awful lot of film for him to use to do that movie. So that was kind of interesting.
Well, wasn't that an IMAX? Oppenheimer?
Yeah, he had it in multiple formats. Yes.
Oh, okay.
Happy deal.
So let me take this off here. So please send in some images, and we're going to have Gustavo has a little presentation that will as we say, as I like to say, we'll stir the pot a little bit and get people thinking, get people going with conversation. has a table he put together with some like a wish list of things he'd like to see in future cameras or whatever. So we'll be talking about that. Since we do have Sanjit in here now, and I don't know how long he's going to be able to stick around. I'm going to talk about the link he sent, and then I think I'm going to show that link so that we can go through that first. While he's here, because I'm sure he's not going to be able to stay for the whole show. So he sent me a link to a newly released video titled "Voices of the Endangered," and the video is a glimpse into the front lines of Malaysian conservation, where passion meets purpose. This video trailer takes viewers on a journey across vibrant ecosystems, lush rainforests, vast oceans, and endless skies where the fight to protect life unfolds. So this video features dedicated conservationists. The trailer showcases their tireless efforts to safeguard endangered species and restore fragile habitats, from rehabilitating iconic species to restoring forests and oceans. These individuals amplify the silent voices of Malaysia's inhabitants. Voices of the Endangered is more than a call to action. It's a celebration of resilience, hope, and the unyielding spirit to protect the interconnected web of life. So I will try to bring that up and share it with everybody, and then we can get Sanjit in here, and he can I think before, what I'm going to do, I'm going to share the link to the channel too, so if there's people that want to come on, and Sanjit wants to come on after we show this, he can pop in and talk with us live here. So let me get okay, so there's the link to our show, okay? And I will bring up the video, and let me make it bigger here. And I will start it, and we will see how this works out. If it doesn't work out well, I will just put the link in there and everybody could watch it.
They live happily until humans come. The longer come, the poachers come.
We've robbed them of their home, their food, because of our greed.
That is the human agenda, human greed. The less that this animal is out there, the more I want it. It becomes a collector's item, it becomes exclusive. It becomes extinct.
Whenever we come across these seas of trash offshore, and everything but the kitchen sink is floating out there, that broke me.
We all know one fact, which is humans is the most dangerous animals on planet Earth until today.
So that's that. You could watch some terrifying horror movie.
Sounds it.
That's a Dracula movie in the background that was coming on right afterwards. So I guess that's fitting. You go from killing wildlife to having Dracula show up. Probably fitting, I guess.
So what is the location of that? It's on YouTube as well?
Yes, it's on YouTube. Yes, I could put the I'll put the link in. Give me a second to find it, and then we'll talk about it. So bear with me for a second. I got to find I got to find the email. Okay, so I just put the link in the chat for those of you that want to watch that without the Revenge of Dracula showing up a few seconds afterwards. But what's sad is that I think with mankind in general is most people know that we do a lot of things that we have contributed a lot to extinction level events for certain species or near extinction level events, whether it be the shark population or the fish population in general from overfishing. We eat more than nature can produce in certain parts of the world without a problem at all, and then we have deforestation due to the explosion of the population and people not clear cutting trees, whether it be for make money to sell the lumber or to build homes or whatever, that the planet unfortunately doesn't have a way of shutting humanity down and saying enough's enough already. You guys got to cut it out or you got to back off. And the only ones that can do that are each one of us individually to make that decision to try to do things that are better for the environment or less intrusive on the environment. But it's just it's difficult to see, and I'm sure Gustavo saw this too. Is when I was a diver, and we used to do. I was an assistant instructor, and now assistant instructor for a while, and a dive master. And we used to do our open water dives as part of the class in Rhode Island, Jamestown, Rhode Island. And there were two coves up there, basically right next to each other. Okay. There were two separate coves. And this was back in the days. Of course, I was much younger when I was doing that. But this was back in the days when the oil tankers, when they got rid of the oil, they were allowed to rinse out the container ship that was storing the oil with salt water, and then they would just dump it back in the water again. So we were diving one time, and at that time they had changed the laws to tell them that they couldn't do that. So we were doing an open water dive one time, and literally we're underwater, and we popped up to like a thin oil slick all around us, and could see the ship out there, and we knew what had happened, and we reported the ship because it was against the law to do that, and we knew it came from that ship. So we're really good about using the ocean as a personal dumping ground. Back in the 70s, when I went to Bermuda, when I graduated from high school, I rented a moped. I drove all over that island. I think it's only 24 miles, if I remember right, 24 miles long. I'm probably the only tourist that ever managed to find their dump. And their dump was called the ocean. Over the cliff, I saw hundreds, if not thousands, of automobiles just laying against the cliff face and garbage with the ocean hitting all that stuff. So we're very, very good about thinking that the ocean can handle all these things that we do to it, and eventually, it can't anymore. So it's the same thing with the rainforests and everything that we're seeing in that video, things that happen there. So, Sanjit, if you have a few minutes to kind of like talk about that video a little bit more, feel free to come in. do so. I don't want to speak for you. I can only like share my commentary on what I saw and some things that I saw being, being in, I don't know if I want to say being in the wrong place at the wrong time or what have you, but
Well, obviously, it goes without saying. First, congratulations to Sanjay for the video, correct? And then thanks, because the only way things are going to change or improve is these dedicated people to speak about it and to show what we do and what can be done. So I know it must be um, difficult sometimes when you see a lot of things happening to keep a positive outlook, but I think in the long run it makes sense. Right? In the long run, it helps. This type of effort that Sanjay is doing, I think it makes sense. It helps, correct? Because awareness, it, nobody's going to take care of nature if people don't appreciate it, don't like it for the beauty. And with this type of effort from Sanjay and his wife, I think people are going to care, right?
yeah, it's easier to have. It's easy to have that mindset, out of sight, out of mind.
Yes.
If you don't physically see it yourself, then you don't give a you know what, because it's not affecting you. You don't think it's affecting you. But eventually stuff that you don't think affects you eventually does. It catches up with you. And let me get Sanjit in here. I got to shrink everybody down to the mini me size, the Hollywood Square size.
And look at the comment from Robert Daniel that is in Bermudas, Jeff, as well.
Yeah, Robert lives there, correct?
Yes.
Yeah, so he knows he knows better than me what I'm talking about, but I mean, I saw that back in 1977 and it wasn't pretty, so I can only imagine what it looks like now. And Robert, when Robert's saying, let me know when you come back to Bermuda, to be honest with you, I am looking into possibly planning a vacation for my wife and I. I want to take her there after she retires, after working for 46 years in the insurance business, and I want to take her on a nice trip. So I am looking into Bermuda, but I haven't. My skills at planning vacations have gone from exemplary to absolute crud. So I have to. I have to work on that a little bit. But I may be in Bermuda. I may be in Bermuda in 2025. Watch out. Your country will never be the same if I show up. And Sanjit, how you doing, man?
Hey guys, I'm good now. But November was ridiculous. Yeah, I've got a koala attached to me.
Well, I see you have the boss attached to you.
Oh yeah, she's the CEO.
Yes.
Hello, CEO. How's everyone doing?
Good.
It's been a crazy November. We did my goodness, I think 5 major shows. Malaysia finally has its own National Hornbill Day that was officiated by the minister on the 10th of November. And straight on after that, another exhibition in a university. Before National Hornbill, there was another exhibition in another university. And then we went ahead with a conservation experiential thingamabob. And that, I think we had like 50 shows every hour for the whole weekend. And I had to curate the show where guests walk through 3 or 4 different zones, experiencing what Malaysia has and what Malaysia has got to lose. And then to wrap it up, we just got back from this beautiful, fancy resort hotel, and we brought the exhibition there as well. And of course, our CEO is very happy to be traveling all around with us.
So Sanjay, so given your conservation effort, what are your ideas and opinion about ecotourism, because I think that's part of the equation to save the environment, correct?
It is. It could be part of the solution. It could be part of the problem.
Mhm.
A lot of tour operators here still do not do it in a sustainable manner as possible. Um, you kind of like have to limit your number of guests and to be respectful to the simple things like not trample on a little seedling that is just beginning to take root in the ground. So the minor details need to be fine tuned. But ecotourism in Borneo, of course, it is, if I'm not mistaken, is number two economy for the island of Borneo. Uh, it can help. It is slowly shifting to the positive, and one reason why we had to come out with videos like this, it's uh, to be to be honest, it's time to take the gloves off and show people what truly is going on out there.
Exactly.
Yeah, everything is nice, everything is beautiful, but reality is sometimes it's hard to find hope when you're out there.
Well, like I said, people don't worry about things that if they don't see it, they may think they may in the back of their mind they may know there's a situation in a certain location or many locations, but if they don't see it with their own eyes, they just pretend it doesn't exist. And you need videos like that to say, we're not going to let you keep it in the back of your head anymore. We need you to help do something about it.
And over the weekend with the experience zone, that program was called Echoes of Hope, and it was also in conjunction with a graduation ceremony, award ceremony, and Dr. Jane Goodall was visiting.
Oh,
So yeah, we managed to catch her for a bit and bring her into this experience zone. Uh, but it was very emotional for me. Although I did work on filming some of the scenes, and I was away with that dizzying schedule and the editors and the conceptualizations. They put it all together, and I only managed to watch it on the first day, and that uh, three videos, it broke a lot of people. A lot of them walked out angry. Quite a number of them walked out. Everyone just welled up, and they left a river of tears back, be- and they left a river of tears behind. It was a very emotional weekend. So that is like a three-part extended version, focusing on terrestrial wildlife, marine life, and of course, then those that whisper the echoes of hope. That would be some of the conservationists that's working in Malaysia to try to make this country and hope that the world can hear us and make it a better place for all of us. And the key message to take away is that where's humanity? Where's it gone to?
Where are you? Explain Malaysia to those of us that really aren't familiar with it. I mean, there's like it's my understanding. I mean, obviously you have a city, you have a very you have a great city, and then you have probably I guess what we'd call in the States the suburbs. You got areas that don't have the skyscrapers but do have buildings, and then you probably have another area that's closer to the water and the rainforests and things like that are not populated anywhere near as much, and a lot more restrictions in terms of the types of buildings that you could build there, hopefully. But how close how close are these pieces of the puzzle related to each other? I mean, how far, if you live in the city, how far away are you from where you are?
The if we live in the city, in the heart of the city, well, let me draw you a map. Malaysia is in Southeast Asia. So, yeah, I'm gonna need a minute.
That's okay.
How old is he? How old is your son?
A daughter, she's gonna be 7 months soon.
Oh,
So
7 months. Wow.
yeah. Malaysia is in Southeast Asia, so we're in between Singapore on the south and Thailand on the north. That would be the peninsula of Malaysia, and it is surrounded all by water. We have. Give me a minute.
That's lovely.
Hey, mommy's back to save daddy.
Saved by the bell.
And we have large cities and suburbs within the peninsula as well. But what's happened is with development, the forest has shrunk, and what's left of the peninsula is the most pristine forests aligned in the central forest pine. And this is a mountainous range. I mean, it's not too high like the mountains that you have back home. It's a mountainous range, and some of the mountains are really difficult to traverse. There's 7 peaks in total, if I'm not mistaken. One of the most beautiful photos that ever came out was one of the guys that climbed one of the highest peaks managed to see all the other peaks and photograph it in one frame. That would be part of my hit list, but to get up there, it's going to take a lot of effort and time. So within this mountainous range, and we have quite a number of states in the peninsula. A lot of the state governments they are trying. They're not trying, but they rely on natural resources for state revenue. So when they start cutting the forest all the way to the border, and a neighboring state does that too, they're creating fragments of forest. And as of this year only, we had too many roadkills that are of Malayan tigers. That is plain ridiculous. And then we have a couple of states, 2 states on the island of Borneo. And Borneo is one of the largest islands in the world that is too surrounded by water, uh, huge landmass, and one of the places that we work as well. So, being a small country with so much biodiversity surrounded by water, we actually have uh, a lot of beautiful and vibrant flora, all this enigmatic wildlife. And part little bit of the video that you saw was a rhino, like a land rhino, and we lost, or Malaysia lost the Sumatran rhino. The last one died in 2019, uh, which is unfortunate because it is within our lifetime. So yeah, we're putting one more on the extinct list, and the name Malaysia next to it. It's not pretty in a global scale. To get to the forest, one of the most forests I frequently visit is actually a land owned by a good friend of ours, and it's 40 minutes to an hour drive away from home where I am right now. Uh, and for me to go to the heart of the city from home, I live in a suburb, would also take 40 minutes to an hour. So the forest is not too far away, but what many motorists don't see is, everyone just throws a veil to blanket what's happening behind. They leave a buffer zone by the roadsides or by the highways, so it looks nice and pretty. But behind it is all clear cut logging um, for plantations. And certain stretches of the highways, you'll just see plantation for miles and miles and miles. So There's a good and bad to it. Monoculture has for palm oil. There is a restriction that is placed that no palm oil company can open new forest lands uh, for palm oil. They can only use what's existing. But however, that restriction does not work for other agricultural plants such as durians or fruit orchards. Yeah. So that's a little bit about our country
There's
and its.
always there's always an out, right? There's always a back door to do something that is not good.
Yeah, it's unfortunate, and it's just pulling wool over your eyes and having nice forests by the roads, and behind it is not so pretty anymore.
The good thing, Sanjay, is that the tropical forest, I mean, can be resilient. Correct? There is they can recover if the time is allowed to them to recover. Correct?
They can recover. I think it will take a minimum of 40 years for a patch of land to become a forest that can sustain large wildlife and
Yeah.
large birds. And if we start that today, 40 years down the line, this patch of forest can thrive and all its inhabitants can thrive. But is that enough? And so it is a race against time. And, you know, one time, doing this job, sometimes it does just makes you feel rather low. and
Mhm.
sometimes you just want to throw the towel in. And that was part of the video interview, which is the extended version of the video or the video from today's trailer. My wife goes in front of the camera and she says, it's not about saving the planet, it's about saving ourselves. And it's a page that she took out of Sir David Attenborough's book. And that is so true. uh, we do all this to photograph nature and wildlife, to clean up rivers, to fish out all these nets and kitchen sinks that are floating in the oceans. It's it's for humans to survive at the end. Wouldn't that be possible?
Yeah, we're when you see the videos, if you go to the ocean, which and you have turtles, eating the plastic bags and dying from swallowing plastic bags, and um, and it's funny, we went from you just look at buying your groceries, okay. When I was a kid working in the grocery store, you didn't have plastic anything, everything was in a paper bag, and then it was like, well, we're destroying the forest making paper bags, so then they say, well, no more paper bags, so they go with plastic bags. But if you efficiently um, recycled paper, you could probably continue to have recycled paper bags that would be friendlier, obviously, for the environment, and not use the plastic at all. But we're not very good at effectively. I guess it's not cost effective to go and recycle paper. I guess you don't really see a lot of stuff as much as you would like to. That's from recycled paper. I guess we just don't do a very good job of that.
Recycling is a myth. Recycling is merely transforming these elements from one form to another. However, it still stays as it is. It's still going back to the ground while manufacturers are still producing plastic and paper products. So we are flooding, or in a way, we're flooding our planet with these kind of products. So as much as we try to recycle, we just need to be mindful. Let's just use what we have instead of going out to the store and getting more paper, more plastic, because manufacturers will produce so much more when there's a demand. And when there's a demand, it's just going to end up in the landfill again. And landfills, they are expanding. They're expanding, they're getting deeper, they're going wider, and a lot of its toxins are seeping back into the water. There is a paper out there that states that microplastics are going to be airborne, and it's just going to end up in our lungs and hearts without even us, uh, you know, putting any legwork in, even without effortlessly, we're going to get microplastics in our hearts and lungs. So it is up to us to just use whatever we have at home. If you forgot to get it from the store at your checkout counter, I mean, make multiple trips to your car. I did that yesterday. It was funny. The clever I was laughing ahead of.
Yeah, and somehow, Sanjay, as you know, everything is about balance, correct? Because you cannot, um, you cannot prevent countries, younger countries, to develop like Malaysia, correct? That is not possible. And actually, somehow, development sometimes help conservation because you have less people depending on sustaining themselves from the forest and having illegal hunting. So the question is, how do you reach this kind of balance, correct? And also, when the countries develop, there is less pressure of population growth, correct? So, of I understand where you are, but on the other hand, the only thing I can tell you, you have to keep going, correct? So, you cannot allow yourself to to despair because the effort that you, your wife, your organization that you belong are important, right? That part of that balance, okay? I know it can be harsh. I can imagine encountering an endangered species like a rhino that have been butchered for a horn or something stupid like that is bad, right? Or logging taking a tree that sustain a hornbill nest, correct? That is it can be tough, correct? But what is the alternative? Doing nothing?
Oh, it is tough to find the balance, and there's a lot about economic growth, population growth. As the population of the planet um, grows, we're going to need more sources for food, more land for livestock to graze. But it's inevitable. It's not something that we could stop. But however, we could slow down the process.
Yeah,
That's what we can do now, and the only way we can do it is by having a united voice, um, like-minded people that care not only for the environment but for having a good life for generations to come. What more is important in this life rather than just living it? But you want to have a quality to your life. You want to have good food. You want to go out there and do fun stuff, and that you can only do outdoors when the air is not polluted. So with a united voice, at least we could try and slow down the process before our air becomes inhabitable. So, and the good thing about that is Malaysia is a democratic country. Those leaders that are up there in their seats, they have to listen. And with social media now, everyone is extra cautious on the things that they say and they do, which, it leans towards the positive. And what's happening in Malaysia is we are becoming friends with these leaders and saying, hey, we are here to help you. Uh, are you willing to listen? And a lot of times, they say, hey, come over to my office, let's have a cup of coffee and let's chat.
yeah,
Yeah. So it is getting somewhere. However, the rate of getting to the main objective is very slow. But also, as we try to get there, the main objective changes and it evolves as well. So it is also up to us as human beings to adapt to that. Times will change, new technology is going to come out. We just need to adapt and try to keep the current state of our ecosystem in balance.
Hmm, yeah.
I thought
And
with
that's
it,
what I asked you about ecotourism because,
yeah,
I mean, you said correct in Borneo that's generate dollars for the economy, correct? So the people that are in the places where the tourists go, or us, the photographers go, correct? They have an interest on making sure that the hornbills in that area stay. Now they also create problems because they get access to the people, and sometimes people don't behave in the adequate way. But that's a easy problem to handle than when uh, palm oil plantation comes and take all the trees and all the timber and put a new palm oil plantation. Okay, so I think that I think we photographers uh, have responsibility to show the beauty of the environment. That's positive for, and also when we go and visit places, correct? We leave our little dollars here and there, supporting the community in saying, hey, if you preserve this, people will come and see it, right?
yeah. Borneo is beautiful for that, and the authorities in Borneo, they are very active. Uh, every time when you go out on a boat cruise or you go on a safari ride or a hike in Borneo, it is all local. So every tourist is supporting the local economy,
Yeah.
and the locals have realized that hey, they're coming here to see the orangutan, the proboscis, or the elephant. We are earning so well from this. Let's not harm the forest or these animals because it can sustain our livelihood.
Exactly.
And on the other hand, authorities in Borneo, they're very strong, they're very active. So yeah, you can't really be naughty in Borneo.
All right. Well, that I'm glad to hear.
Well, we're glad that you're fighting the fight, as they say,
Exactly.
and seeing some positive change, although obviously nowhere near as fast as you would like to see it.
Well, we try, we try.
But thanks for sharing that clip. Is there now? Do you have additional footage on your you know on your channel, or I mean on your through your work where people could go and see more?
That clip is just merely a trailer. So
Yeah.
what happened was the producers and all the filmmakers, they filmed it in three different parts because everybody was everywhere in different parts of the country. So they flew to Borneo to film, and then northern Malaysia, and then central Malaysia to film. And the beautiful thing about it is they got back to me and they said, "Hey, um, do you know that you spoke for 6 hours in front of the camera?" I said, "Oh," and they compressed that into a 1 minute trailer. And it is totally unscripted. Everyone had their gloves off and said whatever they had to say, and it was edited so eloquently that everyone was complimenting each other. Next week we're gonna upload the full video.
Okay.
Yeah, that's I think like the 7 minute video.
Now, where would that be somewhere where folks could go to see it, or is it a kind of a private thing?
Yeah, folks can go. Well, it's not yet on Malaysia Hornbill, but it's going to be on malaysiahornbill.com.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, and I'll also share it on the socials. Yeah, I'll also share it on the social soon.
Okay.
Well,
Well,
Sanjay, send us some photos of hornbills for next week because we always love to see those beautiful hornbills.
All
Or
right.
any other, I mean, any other animal. Sad to hear about the tigers. I mean, this issue of fragmentation and the road corridors that prevent the wildlife to go from places. It's a problem, correct?
Um, yeah, and there's a lot of efforts going on into that replanting that's happening to connect fragments of forest that can be connected, and then there are bridges being built over highways and rivers so
Yeah,
that
remember
primates.
you showed the video that for the monkeys, correct?
I think so.
Yes, you chose that was wonderful, right?
yeah, I mean that's the there's that's they've done a little of that in the United States too, where they've built bridges that are strictly for animals to get from to go over a highway to get from one one side of the highway to the other side, and they have done that in certain areas, and it took a while for the animals to figure out why is this bridge here with no cars on it, and actually use it, but it has worked.
Yeah.
All
Big
right, guys.
effort.
I'm so sorry. I have to run. I just realized I got this Disney T-shirt on. It came from all the way from the US. It says Disney Conservation Fund. You guys rock. Thank you so much. Back to daddy duties.
All right, take care. Thank you so much.
Well done, Sanjay. Thank you.
Have a good night.
Good night.
Throw up a few comments here that were brought up during the show that I thought were interesting. Jim saying cruise ships now collect the waste, grind it up on board, and make fish food out of it. So that's a good thing. And
Also recycle all the water and everything.
yeah, Greg said back in '82 they threw thousands of pounds of trash overboard. Yeah, I mean that's.
As long as it's only food scraps, it's not a problem. It's all the other rubbish.
It's the other stuff, yeah. And Roy, you put this comment up, which is true, is we all have plasticizers or things that are part of the process of making plastic bags, and we have that stuff in our bodies now. And I don't think anybody knows what percentage is no one knows yet, how much of this stuff you can have in you before it causes some serious problems. It's one of those things where you may not know the effect for 20 years from now, but I'm sure it's not going to be good. And Greg's asking if everybody gained weight. Yes, we did. I should have started the show doing jumping jacks and trying to get everybody to do jumping jacks with me, but I think most of us would only do about 5.
I gain weight. We don't even have Turkey Day here.
Chuck would be able to do 105 because of his military training. He'd be like making us all look bad.
Oh, no. Bad.
And yeah, that was an interesting conversation. Yeah, Jim's saying they have animal bridges for deer and cougars in the Los Angeles area.
Yeah.
And we say hi to Luis, who's with us now. And let me move on to some other topics here. Let's see.
Well, you're looking for that. So, Chuck, did you got your 800 or not yet?
Yeah.
You got it?
It came to, I got it yesterday, although the sale seems like to be stealing when I'm bored. But anyway, I get Tuesday.
Excellent. Fantastic.
Yep.
Wow.
And I got 1.2
Oh, fantastic. That's very good.
I
That's
love
very
that lens too.
You'll find the 50s a little lighter.
Not by much.
Fantastic! Congratulations, Chuck. I chose. I'm still working on some. I got some in the pipeline, so I show you some tripod accessories and stuff that will be great now that you work on your with your 500, right? For monopod and tripod, so to
Okay.
carry it around. So I probably will be ready for next week. Well, no, next week we have photo review. The following week after that.
Yeah.
But congratulations, that you will love it.
And the 800 is a good weapon if you need to use it too. It's like a 2-in-1 tool. Great for photography and good for protection too, personal protection.
It's not that big.
Good.
The old one was bigger.
Yeah, the old one was bigger.
Yeah.
The let's see, there wasn't like I said, there wasn't a lot of rumor stuff because everything was advertising for buying stuff. So Nikon, they did pop out a version 1.02 for the if anybody has a Nikon DX 16 to 50 millimeter lens, it's the f3.5 to 6.3 VR lens. There was a rare occurrence where you could get an error message that just says error, press shutter release button to reset. Well, apparently they updated the firmware so you don't get it, the camera telling you that you have to press your shutter release button anymore. Sony was Sony rumors has had there's been a lot of talk about Sony from other rumor. Last week I talked about a lot of stuff that Canon rumors kind of said about Sony, which wasn't all necessarily complimentary by any means. Wasn't out of my mouth. It was just me reading what they wrote.
Wasn't me.
And it didn't have Roy's name next to it either. So Sony rumors had they guess they were talking to their general manager, Masanori Kishi, in a BCN interview why the Sony A1 II kept the same A1 Sony A1 sensor. And I don't know why everybody's got to beat up on that. I mean, it's a great sensor, so it's like, but it's like nothing wrong with it, but it isn't new, so that's a bad thing, right? But his comment was that the sensor used in the A1 has a fast readout speed comparable to a global shutter, has very little image distortion. It was a sensor with high potential to begin with. He says, this time we improved the image processing algorithm to improve image quality. The A1 II has evolved to be worthy of a new flagship camera. The sensor had a lot of room for growth, so it was reused. The highlight of the model is the inclusion of AI. By increasing the subject recognition rate, the focus accuracy has been greatly improved. And then the journalist from BCN added some of his speculations. And he said it's difficult to achieve high pixel count and high image quality with a global shutter. So this may be one of the reasons why it was not used at this time. If he was to speculate, for example, resources may have been taken up in the development of a sensor equipped with a global shutter, and there may not have been room for the development of a new sensor to be installed in the A1 Mark II. And he agrees that the original sensor was and still is fantastic. The limitations of the A1 were in other aspects, some of which have been addressed with the new A1 II. And then, of course, they got to say, well, it still doesn't have 8K 60p. But, I don't know. I mean, I'd really love for them to do a survey, someone to do a realistic survey to find out how many non-professionals, people that are not being paid, how many non-professionals are doing video in 8K. I'd really, really love to get a feel for how many people that is, because I can't personally imagine it would be a lot of people.
We probably will in the future as the computers catch up with them.
Well, assuming that everybody wants to spend all the money on all these new computers, that you're going to need to do it. That's part of the problem too.
I see Joy is in the green room. Or...
Yeah.
Joey's in the green room,
Yep.
all the way from Canada. Somebody sent me a Canadian joke, Joey. I'm warning you ahead of time. I may have to share that.
Bring it on. How you guys doing?
Excellent.
Good.
Nice. Good to see you guys.
What
Did
do
you get a
up
lot of
to?
snow?
What do you want?
Do I have a lot of snow? Of course I've got a lot of snow, guys. It's after Halloween. Yeah, no, I was out this morning taking photos of the horror frost because that's all I can do in the winters. Stare in horror at the horror frost.
But you getting a lot of snow or no?
Yeah, no, we've been getting lots of snow. It's been pretty cold. This week warms up pretty good, which is great. We're doing a big community drive at work. So hopefully the roads aren't too bad because we're driving out to a couple of reservations. So hopefully things stay nice. Going to be shooting some photo and video, which will be fun.
They had, let's see, Luis said he bought a 2 terabyte SSD. I did notice the other day, I didn't buy one, but they had a really good price. Whether it's still a really good price or not is that 4 terabyte SSD drive was on sale at B&H for an incredibly good price. It was that, I'm trying to think of the brand now. It was the one with like the armor jacket on it or something. It was.
This was also on sale. I think the T7 and the T8 version of this. The 4 terabyte.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Is the Samsung? Yeah. So you picked one up?
Yep.
There you go. There we go. There's the sales pitch right there. So, what did they have that for? They had it marked down quite a bit.
Yes, I think it was. I take it a second. Let me go to my email and I'll tell you.
Just for you, Mike. Hey, the what is it? Penis, yeah, I don't know.
Petapixels?
Yeah. Good. Him and they take the Cantonese A1 or whatever it is, the Canton, whatever it is, and the Sony A1 2 and the 4-year-old 8 Z9, and they're all put in the big. God. Anyway, it's worth watching.
Yeah,
I saw that.
And they all won, right? They all won.
No,
Well, he was pulling more for Sony, and I still think the Z9 is pretty good. So,
I don't think I think the Z9 did real good.
yeah, but he chose the A1 Mark II, and I still think the Z9's better than that.
I think the extra money you got to pay for $3,000 more than a Z8 right now to get a A1 Mark II. I don't know how you can say that the camera's worth $3,000 more than a Z8. I mean, you can have the greatest imagination in the world. I don't know how you can literally think that there's $3,000 worth of greatness better than the Z8 in that camera. I mean, it's a great camera. It's a great camera. I'm not going to knock their camera, but I am going to knock their price.
Well, and as Chuck was commenting on that one thing that was clear is that still on the video side, the Z9 is the most competent one of all of the current model. Which, considering that now is the Z9 is the oldest one of all these kind of sophisticated camera, correct?
The Z9 hold up well when it was placed against the Canon and the Sony. Yeah.
So anyway, so going back briefly, so that Samsung 4 terabyte, and there is the T7 and the T9. That's the version of their that was 4 terabyte. It was 264.99, 265, which for 4 terabyte is good, correct? So
Yeah.
so you can connect it to your machine, and they are fast enough that you can work out of that the videos or the photo editing. So I love when those come on sale, they're good. So I typically get one of those. So that's good. But yes, it was interesting. I think they were not saying that Sony was better. They were trying to explain that the evolution of this, correct? We are in a
They are looking at what is the best camera right now,
exactly.
and the Z9 is 4 years old, and it still does a great job in there. So yeah.
Yes. Yes.
Now Sony. Now the price isn't hurting Sony apparently, because Sony Japan has already issued a press release saying that the orders they've gotten for the A1 Mark II, they've got the standard statement that they far exceeded expectations. May take some time to be delivered a product. We're working as hard as possible to meet everybody's needs. We ask for your patience. So obviously, that a lot of people have that kind of money to support it. So good for you. If you feel that it's worth the price, then that's a personal decision.
They're just maybe just made this saying this set. They're just saying in the I don't think they're as great as they say.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of kids that want to take the Sony fans and let them go.
Yeah, I mean they have a better marketing machine, that's for sure. There's no doubt about it. They have a much better marketing machine.
Nikon bit the bullet for the first part of the back.
Well,
to
5 years. 5 years that Canon and Nikon were out of the game for those first 5 years.
Yeah, just give it up.
Yeah.
But I guess I don't know what they had to give. Probably got rid of some old timers to get rid of it. But anyway, yeah.
But
Yeah. So Chuck, what surprised me actually of the commentary that they made is that they were saying that one of the things that they criticized out of Nikon is that they came with a C8, which is almost as capable but a lot cheaper. And they said, that's fantastic, right? That's actually very good, right?
Well, yeah, but I mean the Z9 is cheaper than all the other ones, big put together. So yeah, they loved it again. They said they liked it.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean the
and their the whole ideal that they're going to get. I think they didn't like the little whatever 24 or whatever mix it minute. They said no. They like the
50 megapixel sensor, not the 24.
Yeah, and they said in the 45.
Yeah.
Anyway, it was really interesting.
Yes.
It's
And keep that thought when we come back and discuss what you expect from Nikon when we go to the table, correct? Because I put kind of my wish list, knowing that wish list is not going to come all in the next camera, correct? Because we may suffer the same, that we may be disappointed. Oh, this is not a big upgrade from the C9, or this is not a big upgrade from the C8. Maybe this is where we are in the stage of the maturity of the evolution of the camera, correct?
yeah. I think we've talked about areas that and you cover that into what you sent me earlier that I looked at is, when we've talked about it before about, okay, taking advantage of the new CFEB cards version 4.0 and changing your architecture to get the speed, which is what you need to do. And, will you put that in the next camera, and then better dynamic range and a higher bit rate and stuff like that. So there are still a few things they can do, but I mean, it's, you are eventually, I'd say after the next generation, maybe at a stretch, the next 2 generations at the most, you're going to max out on what you could do with a, with a mirrorless camera, full frame mirrorless camera. Exactly. And if you want more at that point, you're going to have to go medium format if it's all about, God bless you, if it's all about dynamic range or this, that, or the other. There's only so much you're going to get out of what you could put in these cameras. You got maybe two more big, fairly big cycles that you might be able to go through, and then you're going to be maxed out. And so they'll come up with some totally different technology because they have to.
And there is nothing wrong with we got to a level of maturity of this technology that we don't have to buy the new camera every new generation, correct? We can do with the phones, you can skip one, and then when you eventually buy after 2 generations the phone, then the phone really is more powerful, correct? So we
won't have the problem, but I'm saying the camera manufacturers will. Exactly. They want you to keep buying the next one, I mean,
exactly.
No doubt about that. Do you have your let's see, do you have your let me just see if I
I'm waiting for the Z9 II.
Exactly. So
because we use the what we got now with all excuse me, we take all the daggone it, the shoot, what is it?
The EVF?
No, all the God. I can't think.
See, the one thing I watched about that, which a lot of people missed, the A1 II does 4K line skip, whereas the Z9, Z8 doesn't. Same thing with the Z6 III, and I don't even think the ZF does that. So I don't know about the Z52, but I think
good enough.
They will upgrade the EVF on the Z9. That was the only thing he complained about.
I'm waiting for the
A1 too.
I'm waiting for the Z9 II because I think it'll be really something to see. I'm thinking global shutter and a larger than 25 megapixel.
I'm getting to me 24 megapixel camera doesn't do it for me.
Exactly.
Nope.
Not for what I shoot anyway. If I was just doing street photography, it would be fine, but I'm not just doing that. So
that's what they said. I think tuned it down to 20 megapixels, you know. So yeah.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
they won't I won't be buying one if they do
So,
that.
so Jeff, the presentation is there, correct?
Okay, before I put your presentation on, because I know he can't always stay very long. I just want to say a better hello to Joey here and see what he's up to before he disappears on us.
Hey
Because
guys.
we got to get the 5 minutes of a young guy on the screen here before he disappears.
before I just disappear into the ethos. Yeah, nice to see everyone. Yeah, I will have to leave in about 10-15ish in that ballpark. So thanks for giving me the floor. Yeah, nice to see everyone. I hope everyone's doing well. Hope everyone's staying warm wherever you are in the world. Yeah, not a whole lot new with me. I'm still working on the storytelling project in the background. I have no stories yet, but the website's done and got that all ready to roll. So now I just need to try to find some people that want to share their stories. So yeah, if you want to reach out, if you've got a cool story, hit me up. I can't tell my story over and over because that would defeat the purpose. But yeah, no, things are going really well. Work's great. Family's good. Yeah, I mean, I guess my thing with the A92 is I hope it addresses the need for some folks. I mean, I think in terms of more video resolution, I mean, right now, do you need 8K? No, you really don't, unless you want to crop in a lot. I would say that for myself with my S5 II, I mean, I use the 6K OpenGate a lot, but that's not because I'm exporting in 6K, right? Like I'll shoot the full height of the sensor so I can put my stuff on Instagram and stuff like that because it shoots at the full height. So I think that OpenGate piece is really big. Sometimes I'll shoot in 6K to a 4K timeline and blow it up a little bit there, but I don't think necessarily I would use the 8K feature a lot. Also, like I edit all my video on a M1 Mac Mini, and it chugs already with the 6K footage. So if I was to throw some 8K, and I actually have thrown in 8K footage before, not from a Sony codec, but with a Canon codec, and it was rough. I mean, Canon footage is already kind of rough in terms of just the playback. I find I don't know if anyone, the chat has advice on how to better improve that. Always game for it, but I always found the files out of Canon particularly hard, especially 8K. So yeah, I think it's a new product.
That's where that M4 Mac Mini that Randall got is a good value for. And I also have a M1, and I think you can see that this will be a good value for money. I'm going to see what they have on the AP Studio, but wow, for what is it, Randall? $599 or $599 or for the Mac Mini?
Well, yeah, but that's only 16 gigs of RAM, and I would never recommend it. I would always recommend 32 gigs of RAM. You can have like 512K or 1 terabyte of storage, and you can put everything on external.
Exactly, and then
you don't have to buy everything, but you need the memory, and that's still a good deal. Like $800.
And with that, you should be set for another 4 years or something like that.
That's right. I mean, I still got my Intel Macs. Mm-hmm. They don't do the 8K, but the M1 does. And I got the M3 Max, and now I got the M4 Mini Pro. And I've had no problems.
You see it, tiny, correct?
Yeah. Very
tiny.
yeah,
they're very, very small computers. Like I've got mine just right there.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So they're really small. I mean, the extra RAM is definitely helpful. I think the biggest thing I found with my Mac Mini that I think is being the biggest struggle is the hard drive size. I've only got 8 gigs on mine. And I mean, I think if you're doing larger files, you definitely do need that RAM. But the biggest efficiency for me is the hard drive size. I've only got 500 gig internal on it, and that fills up quick. I can only do one video project at once, and I often run out of space. So,
yes, for sure. But anyway,
Greg's. I'm going to answer Greg's question here. If I bought a Z9 or Z8, I will need a new computer and software. Well, Greg, I bought a Z9, and before I bought the Z8, and I needed a new I needed to buy a new computer because not so much due to stills, but if you're going to do the video, if you're going to get into video, that's what you need these higher end computers for, is to handle be able to put the higher end software on your computer to edit videos. I mean, it's you can't have a slow machine, so that's what kills you. If you're going to get into video, you end up blowing thousands of dollars on a new machine. In some case, maybe $4,000 or $5,000 on a new machine. It's painful.
Yeah,
very painful.
But again, that Mac Mini is a good option for that, right? For sure. Compared with what we pay, Jeff.
Well, the only thing with the Mac Mini is you don't have a lot of ports on the back of it.
Yeah.
You gotta. It depends on how many things you got to plug into your computer too.
Exactly. No, I agree. But
yeah,
for sure. But anyway.
All right, I'm gonna run, guys. Have a good night, and I look forward to watching your presentation later tonight. I'm gonna go spend some time with the fam, and then Gustavo, I will be tuning in later retroactively. So retroactively, it's my superpower. But nice seeing you guys. So
I always have the ability to bore everybody every weekend. So
no, it's not boring, Gustavo. It's not that. It's not that.
No, I know.
We're in the middle of we're watching The Grinch right now.
Usually that's when I go to the bathroom. To be honest with
you. Well, I mean, at least you don't take us with you. I used to have students I taught in China remotely, and they loved my class so much that they would sometimes take their laptop to the bathroom, and I'd be like, "Doug, don't do it, please. We know you ate beans. Don't do it. Oh, come on.
Please turn off the mic."
Yeah. Them bean sounds are not pleasant for anyone. All right, guys, have a good night.
All right, take it easy, Joe.
See you later. Bye-bye.
So, Mr. Gustavo,
yes,
you ready to go?
Yes, let me
cause some trouble.
Yeah, you let me know when you see it.
I have it there. I just have to do a few clicks, and there we go.
Can you get since
get off the wait a minute.
Yeah, get off the
I got it. Yeah, I'll get rid of it. I just got to find it here.
Okay.
There we go.
You guys let me know because I cannot see you anymore. All right, very good.
All right, you're good.
All right. So this is kind of couple of slides here with the kind of my idea of the camera improvement that we should see on the next generation of camera, and some of my reflections after the trip of Japan, which I only work with the ZA, and I say, oh, I wish I would have this or that, correct? Because when you're in the field, then you realize, oh, that feature should be good, correct? And remember, we discussed this in May, so I updated some of the spreadsheet that I created in May with some of the commentaries that I got at that time, correct? So in terms of, let's start with the improvement of the next generation of camera from the point of view of what I experienced when I was in Japan, correct? So, and I divided the hardware side on the camera from the software side, particularly specifically on the computational photography, correct? So one of the things that I did miss, and I tell you why, on the hardware side, is that the C8 not having a GPS, correct? So I think GPS is so ubiquitous now that I think we should have GPS in all the cameras. I don't think that will increase the price of the camera significantly, but it actually turned out to be useful, not only from the point of view of the location per se, but actually one of the boo-boos that I did is I did not change the time zone. So now all the timestamp in my photos have mountain standard time zone rather than the time in Japan. So I need to figure out when it was and all that kind of stuff. And the Z9, as you know, as soon as you take the camera to a different time zone, through the GPS, recognize it and adjusted that for you. Now, it was my mistake, but there was an issue. Now, the other use of the GPS is that when you're trying to put together your photos and you're trying to label them properly, correct? If you use your phone, you take a photo and you go back and review your photo. It tells you, obviously it knows the coordinate, but it tells you the place that you were when you took the photo. So it helped you a lot with organizing albums and name whatever naming convention you have. Okay, so I would like to see that characteristic of the phones to be the camera, and that require a GPS. Correct. So it's for the synchronization of the time zone automatically without you taking care of that yourself, and also having the location. Correct. It doesn't. You can, if you don't want to publicize, let's say you nature photography, you don't want to publicize the coordinates or location, you can edit that out before you publish. Okay, but at least you have the option, and when you are doing travel, that it reminds you exactly where you were. Right.
See, and if you're like me and you never travel, you don't care.
Exactly, but hopefully you will travel, right? I don't want you to forget that when you go to Bermudas, that you are in the that think you're still in the same time zone of the Carolinas. Good. So that's one thing. So you can see this first bullet here goes together. The next thing is, and for that I have some example here, is typically when you travel, you are with your phone, correct? You take some photos from the phone. Remember, I showed you some of the videos that I took with the phone, which is always convenient. So I don't have any problem with having your phone at hand and doing some testing. But the phone has a great advantage, correct? Because it allows you to preview the photos that you take into their full potential, correct? So I would like to have that in my cameras. I would like to have the next generation of processors to be able to allow in real time some of the advantages that you're going to take using that raw file and going through your computational photography, correct? And for that, I have a couple of examples. So this is
before you move forward,
yes, sir.
Gustavo, you got a comment here on your that you may be interested in. Robert from Connecticut saying you can do a global change to your timestamp in Lightroom and increase and decrease by whatever number of hours you need.
Okay. Yeah.
So that would be helpful for what
that definitely will help. I will try to look at Robert. I use typically, Bob. I use I'm more of an Adobe Camera Raw, but I'm sure I can do it there too. Correct. So I will go to I will find that option in Adobe Camera Raw because it's a pain in the ass. So anyway, I'm part of my English here. Thank you, Jeff, and let me know if any comment because I cannot see that when
I'm watching the comments. So
thank you, I appreciate that.
Yeah.
So let's go back to an example of what I talk about the processing power, correct? That I would like to see. So this is the final image of one of these pagoda, correct? And one of the temples, correct? So this is the photo that I was able to get using my raw photo and doing all the editing that was necessary, correct? Obviously, I achieved what I want. I look at that, and then the sun was coming from behind, and I say, okay, this could be an interesting photo. Now, so now so this is the final, but let me show you what the iPhone showed me, right? Let me show you what what I was able to see in my camera, and then of course we go back to the process. So when I put the iPhone, and this is what actually made me wanted to do it, correct? This is what I saw. What you have on the left side is what the iPhone showed me, correct? So I can see, okay, there is sufficient possibilities here from the iPhone that if I take a raw exposure, correct, and particularly when you visualize that JPEG of the raw in your screen, correct, which is in the middle, that I know, okay, if I try different exposure setting here, I may be able to get something much better than what I got from the iPhone. But the iPhone already showed me what is possible, correct? So the image in the middle is what I saw through the camera. And of course, that doesn't look anything like what I see after processing in Adobe Camera Raw, correct? But it was the iPhone image that gave me the confidence that I could get what I got on the right. Correct. So what I'm suggesting here is that it will be great not to show to do a preset that try to get my raws already pre-cooked in the way I want it in Adobe Camera Raw. I want my raw. I want to work that image. I think the image that I got by working that raw in Adobe Camera Raw, to me, is better than what I got from the iPhone, correct? But I would like to have, after I take the image, in my viewfinder, an option to say, show me what a HDR of this photo look like, or show me what a more processed version of this look like. It will never look exactly what I have on the right, but it showed me the potential. So that area of computational photography is one of the things that I would like to see. Right?
Well, the thing, I mean, obviously you don't see this, you aren't going to see this as you're doing it, but this, you've been shooting long enough where you can many a times look at an image and kind of have a gut check in terms of the, whether or not you could bring up the shadows and up enough without creating noise and what your highlights are going to be like. But obviously sometimes you could just do old school and do a 3-shot bracket too.
Exactly. And I probably did some of that too, but you see, showing you the potential, correct? I mean, the phones are good for that, correct? They show you the potential of the photo, correct? And that encourages you to maybe spend more time doing exactly what you say. Okay, this has enough potential. Let me do a bracketing shot here, correct? And I know we are all experienced photographers and we recognize that, but I tell you, when you are moving around, sometimes you missed it, correct? And I think,
well, it doesn't pop in your mind sometimes until after you get home.
exactly. And that's what I think the computational photography could help us, correct? Is to show the potential, correct, of what we have. I definitely I want still to do the raw processing, and I know people like Chuck who say, no, I shoot JPEG, and that's fine too, correct? But the JPEG that he probably will produce will be better quality than the JPEG from the raw that I get in the camera, because he will already have put his input into the camera, correct? But so that was one of the ideas. So the other one is this. This is the thing that we discussed last May, in which I created this little spreadsheet here with a list of possible improvement in the next generation of camera. Correct. Now the A1 have been updated. The R1 is now out. The R5 2 is out. Correct. And the C9 and C8 have been out for quite a while. So what can we expect on the next generation of camera? And in particular for us here, the computer, correct, is what could expect on cameras like the next generation of C9 and C8, which is what Chuck was talking about, correct? So again, I divided the table in hardware on the left side and software on the right side, correct? And new software can be also new firmware, correct? Which as we know, Nikon has done quite well. So let's look at the hardware side first, correct? So I think when we discussed with Roy last time this subject, we talk about aspirationally, and I don't know whether the technology is capable of doing that now, correct? It would be nice to have some of the capabilities of the higher megapixel cameras, the larger format camera, correct? We have in 16-bit, correct? That will require a new sensor for sure.
Yeah, and one and two go hand in hand with each other too.
We go hand in hand, but you guys correct me, they are not one and the same, correct? So I have it as a single line before, but yeah. I think it's probably sometimes they may improve on the 16-bit without having to change the dynamic range. Hopefully, we would like to see in the next couple of generations improvement in both, correct? Then obviously we talk about the global shutter. I think global shutter is a reality. And actually, I'm extremely happy that Nikon took the decision of not having a mechanical shutter. I think ultimately that's the way to go. So in that respect, Nikon is ahead of that. Then we have some of these will require a new processor. So we know at one time they had to come with an XP8, correct? And because that's an enabler to some of the things that we have on the hardware side before. Optional for high frame per seconds. 60 plus that also require a new processor. High megapixel cameras, I think maybe not in all the cameras, but certainly for cameras that are more towards landscape and all that, 60 megapixel. Then obviously take advantage of the CF Express Type B version 4 so that with the new processor should enable to do the higher frame per second and the 16-bit. Right? Now, as you see from my experience in Japan, I don't see why we don't have internal GPS in all cameras. This issue of connecting to a Snipe bridge and getting to have the camera borrow the GPS from the phone, I don't think ultimately that's something that they need to get away from that.
I think the reason they don't do it in all of them is because if you flow down, if you put it this way, if you flow down everything in your say in your Z9 and you flow down a very, very high percentage of it into the lower end bodies, and you go too far with it, then why would anybody buy the higher end one?
And that's
you have to have market segmentation. You have to have different price points, and so something has to go away.
And that is true to a point, but that's the point that the megapixel height we're talking about. I think ultimately that is true, but I think people like some of us here, we got the C9 and we got the C8, correct? And they are very similar, and we use it differently, correct? So I think you are correct, but on the other hand, I think GPS is so ubiquitous now that I think we should have it in all the cameras. I would love that they goes down all the way to the C6, well, the C6, 3, 4, or whatever replaces those cameras, correct? Maybe not in the real consumer cameras, but the prosumers and the professional cameras.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think you should put it in a Z52.
No, but in a C6, 3 probably, or 4 for sure, correct? So the other thing we know that the C9 and C8 are a little bit behind is the high luminosity resolution viewfinders, correct? I can see it already in the C6 III. It's a much better viewfinder, so that should migrate up into the higher camera. The back screen still can be more powerful, correct? Easy to see in middle of the good light. So these are things that are all possible, correct? The fully reversible flip screen like we have on the Sony, sometimes you have to copy others, correct? Without infringing patterns.
I just personally still see something that's that one, like what they have in the A12 or the A7R4, is the most flexible screen setup of any camera out there.
Yes.
However, I also think that that's the weakest link of the camera in terms of something that can fail.
Durability.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I acknowledge the flexibility of that style, but I also have a lot of concern about the ruggedness of that style.
Sure, but ensure that Lincoln engineers, obviously they're not going to be a compromise on the robustness of the camera, and maybe not so much on the C9 II, but in the C8 II, correct? Also, I remember I'm not one that filmed myself, but I can see, I mean, that flexibility, all these kind of degrees of movement that we have in the A1 II is a good thing. I mean, correct? So
Roy comments he still sees pro sports shooters taping down their flippy screens.
Yeah, but you know what I like of those flippy screen, Roy? The fact that you can cover it completely, correct? You can put it.
Oh, I love flippy screens. Makes it much easier.
Yes.
But the trouble is, you catch a flippy screen when you're walking around, the whole camera's dead.
Exactly. But being able to completely put it back, and then you see only the back of the screen, not the LCD. That's actually, I like it. Correct.
Hey,
Yeah,
I'm
me
gonna
too.
I'm gonna throw out a weird thought here
Yeah.
because
Go
I'm
ahead.
good at weird thoughts. What if you made something a modular screen setup where you could buy different screens and plug them into the back of your camera?
And that's not a bad idea.
They're called field monitors.
And that way, if you want to screen a certain way, you buy screen A. If you want now are shooting it in a different subject or a different manner, doing portraits or what have you, and you want the one that's more articulated, then
Almost
you
clickable.
then you could mount that on the back of your camera. So instead of having that way, you can pick your poison, or you can have multiple
Exactly.
choices to put on your camera. That might be a good idea.
That is true. Or no screen
Field
at all.
monitors already do that. You plug a field monitor and you've got all that already. You got things
Yes.
like pixel peaking and things like that as well.
But
I
I
think I'd
tell
rather
you,
plug into a laptop or a
but I tell
tablet.
you, going back to the viewfinder, definitely, I tell you that viewfinder of the C60 and Randall can tell you that viewfinder is fantastic. And when I see the viewfinder from the R1, the bigger viewfinder, that is helpful. All right, that whatever help you in the field to see the quality of the image, that's helpful. Right?
Well, a bigger screen is important for people like some of us that wear eyeglasses too.
Exactly. All right. So on the software side, well, the pre-capturing role that I have been waiting for that one. I'm afraid that the Nikon is going to wait until we get the next generation to give it to us. Although I think it should be possible to give it to us in a firmware, but we may have to wait. Obviously, there is a progression still going on the autofocus and subject detection. So see more refinements on that. That would be great. I know there is no consensus on that, but I like to see some anti-theft features. I want to be able to render all the new cameras useless if you don't have either disable if you have a GPS and a way to communicate with your camera to be able to disable the cameras if somebody steal them from you. Correct? That will be fantastic. Right? That programmable frame per second function button, okay, the speed buster button in the camera. That is something that could be a firmware, but that's useful, correct? Particularly if you go to the higher megapixel, so the higher frame per second, you don't always want to be at the maximum, correct? But you wanted to have it available relatively easy, so you see the action, so suddenly it's going to take it. You press and hold or press one time and you move to higher. That is a good thing, correct? So image authentication, that encrypting the images to make sure that when they are modified, there is a something that cannot be edited that tells you about what have been done to that image. That's fantastic, right? So number six is focus distance limiter. I like that option. I want to be able to fully program my camera, not only rely on what I got in the lens, the full range or uh, 10 meters to full. I mean, I would like to be able, in some cases, certainly for wildlife, when you are working on a given site, that you are able to keep that camera within a small range, correct? Like we
Yeah.
have in the pre-capture.
If you're doing macro shots, you'd like to say, "Hey, I want it to go just from 0 to 2 feet."
Exactly. You don't want to go and hunt for infinity, correct?
Right.
Exactly. So I know that it's available in some cameras. So I would like to see that. Certainly, nature photography will benefit from that. We talk about that the advantages computational for camera as a function of preview, correct? The same way that I know Chuck was talking about that many times before. The in-camera noise reduction that's mimic what you can do in Topaz or all these, but as a preview, correct? You know now, okay, this is certain ISO, but if I know in the future when I process my raw or if I get my JPEG, I'm going to have an acceptable amount of noise, right?
Yeah, if with a lot of these cameras are doing noise reduction internal now, and some of them tell you they do it, some of them don't tell you they do
And
it.
I don't like that. I prefer
And,
that.
one, I don't like that, and two, I don't have a problem with them offering that feature, but to me, you have to make it so you should make it by default, it's turned off, and you have to go into the menu and turn it on if you want to use it.
Exactly.
You should
And
only
in my
go
case here, I would like to have it as a preview. Correct. That
yeah,
you when you're reviewing your camera, you say, okay, let me preview it. Correct. With that, just to check the potential. Correct. It's again the potential.
yeah. And the pre-capture in RAW, I'm sorry, if you could do pre-capture RAW on the A12, I don't buy that their processor chip is any better than what's in the Xpeed 7
Exactly. I agree.
at all. And I think if we're not seeing that, that's somebody in, like you said, that's somebody in marketing that's saying we got to keep that in our pocket for when we come out with a Z9 too.
Exactly.
But I mean, I think that's short-sightedness because, like, Matt Irwin did a very interesting video, and he talked a lot about the A1 Mark II, and I left a comment on his latest video. My opinion is, if I was a Sony A1 user, I'd be pretty PO'd because basically the A12, a lot of what got put in the A12 were things that were in over time that
Yeah.
were in lower level Sony camera bodies, and they did not update the firmware in the A1. And then when they tried, they bricked it basically. And the thing is, they took what could have, they took probably 75% of what's in that A12
Yes.
could have been put in the A1 via firmware. And
Exactly.
if I was an A1 user, I'd be pretty PO'd because, you basically left them, they weren't, they didn't take the same approach, obviously, that, Sony's approach is, we don't want to give you anything for free.
Exactly.
If you want that other stuff, we're going to make you buy a new body. And obviously, we know Nikon's mindset is not that it wasn't that way at one time, but over the last, say, 5 or 6 years has totally changed. Where, I mean, many people will say the Z9 when it came out was versus where the Z9 is now. Normally, that would have been a whole different camera,
Exactly.
and they gave us all of that for no charge. So there's a big difference in mindset where if one company is willing to give you a lot of improvement and it doesn't cost you anything, and another one holds back on it or chooses not to do it to make you buy another body.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think that's hey,
Well,
obviously they're getting enough orders on the A1 too. They probably don't give a crap. But I mean, to me, I just think it's a poor business decision.
yeah, I think, and that's why many of us are still very loyal to Nikon, correct? Because we have seen that kind of attitude for Nikon to basically
We're
uh, uh,
we're getting a lot for the money.
exactly.
Getting a lot for the money.
So number 9 and number 10, correct, is all these options for making the cameras more flexible with regard to cycling to shooting banks and having cycling buttons for over and on the expose, correct? Rather than having to do some of these bracketing so there is opportunity here. And number 11, I think it was something that Tim always mentioned, correct? That they improve operability between the phones, tablets, and the cameras. That can be improved, correct? There is no reason why you cannot do more, but that requires for them to basically work hand in hand with with the people that prepare hardware for the phones and the cameras to make sure that you can do a lot more than we can do today, right? So this is the list for now, the November list, right? I remember last time we discussed this was in May 2024. Would I expect that we're going to see all this on the next generation of C8, C9, and C8? Probably not, but let's see how many of these we see on some of the cameras that should be coming next year. Correct? This year we got to the average of 2 cameras per year. Next year we should get two cameras that could be refinements on the lineup, but now at the higher end of the lineup. Correct? So
Well,
anyway, so that's what I thought, guys. Have the discussion. So let me know in your comments how you modify this table, what things, what ideas you have, and I will keep adding to this. Okay.
I'm going to make a comment about number 3
Okay. On what side?
on the hardware side, global
Okay.
shutter.
Yes.
When I talked last week about what was on Canon rumors, I agreed 110% with what Canon's thought process was that you want to provide somebody with a sensor that gives somebody the best quality image, okay? And that's a reason why they didn't rush out to throw out a global shutter. I'm sure that's why Nikon didn't rush out to do a global shutter. And yeah, somebody has to be first. And there's obviously a list of there was a list of benefits for what they put out. There's also a list of deficiencies
Yes.
in comparison to say what their A1 Mark II can do versus the A9 III.
Yes.
And so I'm strongly of that opinion as well. For the majority of photographers who probably want a camera that you look at as a generalist camera, something that you could say, I'm a wedding photographer, I can use this camera. Oh,
Yes.
I'm a macro photographer, I can use the same camera. Oh, I'm a landscape photographer, I could use that camera too. I think when you're looking at a camera
Two
that
segmented.
appeals to the masses,
Yes.
a global shutter isn't a necessity.
Yes.
And I think if you're, I mean, I don't want a Z9 II to have a global shutter in it just so I can walk around and say, oh, I got the Z9 II, it has a global shutter. Rah rah rah. If you don't get rid of the negatives that you have right now with this current generation
Yes.
that's out there, I don't want it. I agree with Canon. I want the best image quality that I can get, and there's such a small percentage of people, and could convince me that someone who's shooting a R5 II or a Z9 or a Z8 as a sports shooter is missing so many photographs that the A9 III person's getting.
No, I agree.
I don't buy it.
I mean,
I don't
going
buy
back to the discussion of the petapixel comparison of the different
Yeah.
cameras, the Z8 is the most out of the 3 cameras. Is the one that has the capabilities that satisfy the needs of many different type of photographers. For sure, the C9 and C8 are the master of many disciplines. And I agree with you about the issue of the global shutter. I put it there because I believe that eventually we will get a global shutter that doesn't have the limitation of the current generation, correct? And I think if David would have been here today, he will tell us, okay, what about the global shutter from the red cameras, which seem to have at least some of the characteristics of the 16B and the 16 bits and the greater dynamic range, correct? So
Yeah.
I think eventually we will get a global shutter that doesn't compromise on image quality.
That's and to see the second part of that is, if that happens, I'm gonna say I'd be for that. I'm for that with a caveat.
Exactly.
I'm for that as long as the price point is reasonable.
Exactly.
If you throw something like that out there and now it becomes an $8,000 camera, okay, how many people are going to buy it?
Exactly. No, I agree.
How many people are going to buy it?
No, I agree.
Like Matt Irwin said, he in Australian dollars, an A1 Mark II is over $10,000.
Yeah.
And he says, I can't spend. He says, I can't justify spending $10,000 for a camera body. You know.
Yeah.
You know,
The assumption in here is like any technology, you know, it will become less expensive with time, right?
well, yeah, but like I said, it's you know, if you're trying to get your if you're smart with your marketing, and you need to price things so that you get a return on investment as quick as you can.
And remember what I said before, correct? We don't have to buy the new one if it has only some minor improvement. We skip, like we do with the phone. We skip one generation and wait until those new features amount to a point that make sense to you as a photographer, correct?
Yeah, this is a. I'm going to throw up some comments here that are very good.
Let me stop sharing so that we can see each other here.
Okay, I'm going to throw up some comments here that are very, very good from the chat. Here's one here from Robert. Add shooting banks that you can set default settings so that the baseline isn't changed every time you change something while shooting.
That's great.
So that's like the U1, U2, U3. Yeah, if you I like the shooting banks, but yeah, I don't like it because the one thing I don't like is exactly what he says. If you go in a shooting bank and you change 2 adjustments,
yes,
for a specific scenario, it stays in there. You can't say this is a one-time deal. When I turn the camera off, or ask me when I turn the camera off, come up with a query that says, do I want to save those changes to my shooting bank? Yes or no?
Yeah. Maybe
that's really all they should do. They should have it so when you change a shooting bank, it should come up with a query that asks you, do you want to save those changes permanently?
Maybe not every time you make a change, but when you switch your camera off, then he asks you want to save it. Right?
Yeah.
And obviously, I agree with Robert. Obviously, it would be nice that it's not U1, U2, U3. It's something that is meaningful to you. And I add something here based on this Robert idea. It's the fact that you can cycle. Like we can cycle now through the different autofocus mode. Correct? Imagine you can just press one button and cycle between high-speed nature, landscape quickly. That would be fantastic, right?
And then excuse me here. Tim puts up an important question. You don't see the cat's meow shutter sound on the list.
We don't need that. We have our cat somewhere around here, and then
but
Chuck has his cat. We got plenty of meows.
But I want a dog. I want the dog barking sound on mine because I got a dog. Does the global shutter take round photos? That's another important question. Yeah, and this is really a this is a big concern is what will the cost differential be, and because when you think about it, if you want there's a big difference between look how much that A9 III is selling at a 24 megapixel global shutter. Imagine if you now had a 45 megapixel global shutter, how much that price would go up. It would be very scary.
Don't
It
know.
would be
Yeah,
very scary.
How do you say that?
exactly.
What do you mean? How do you say that? You say it easy. Look how much they got $1,900 more for that A9 III because of that global shutter. And that's 24 megapixels.
That's what they said.
Exactly.
Right. So if you want a 45 megapixel or a 50 megapixel global shutter, you're going to pay more than $2,000 more for your camera.
Don't
I
know.
don't think so, but okay.
Why would it be cheaper? You got more pixels. It's a bigger sensor. It's not going to be cheaper.
I don't think
But look at
Okay.
look at. I mean, these are processors, correct? Those are chips. Look at what we were talking about, the M1 versus the M4. So now you can buy an M4 basic basic Mac Mini that is superior to what you and me, Jeff, bought on the APS2, the studio camera, correct? The studio, Apple Studios, correct? 3-4 years ago. That's I think that's the point that Chuck is making. That until they release a camera with the new features, we are not going to know if it had to be necessarily more expensive. In my opinion, Sony is greedy.
Yeah.
Well, they are. They
Yes.
are.
Yes.
Sure they are. Sure they are.
They are not taking.
Their big part of their big marketing thing is our camera can auto detect the subjects for subject detection. Well, Fuji did that years ago. Nikon did that years ago with the Z9, with the Z8. You have an auto subject detect mode in your camera right now. Yeah, did they market that as a big thing on the Z9 or the Z8? No, they did not. Should they have? Well, maybe, because obviously that marketing is getting a lot of attention on all these channels for the A1 II. Is like, look, it's got auto subject detect. It's like, okay. I just say, okay, that you caught up with the rest of everybody else.
Exactly.
I don't go, ooh, you know.
I think that's where we put this list, and that's the point that the Chuck is making, correct? It's
Yeah.
aspirational, correct?
That's right. Well, I mean, I'm not saying that there's going to be cheaper, but I wouldn't say, and I would make it. I wouldn't say that it has to be a lot more expensive.
Exactly. And the other point to do this, and
Well, I would argue that if Sony came out with a 45 megapixel version and Nikon came out with a 45 megapixel version, Nikon's would be cheaper.
oh, for sure. But look at this, correct? Remember, all these companies that are based in Japan, they make the money based on the revenue in yen, correct? With the dollar being so strong, they're still getting more yen, correct? So I think for them, they're still making more money that they were making with the older model, and they increase the value, they increase the price. So I don't know.
Oh my God! Look at this! Look at that's what Terry's saying. Australia to A1. I think he meant to say A1 II.
Yes.
$11,000.
Yeah.
Australian dollars.
Crazy.
That's scary.
Yeah. Let's see how many of those they sell. I think.
Well, when they say the orders have exceeded what they expected, who knows how many they made ahead of time too. You know. And Fel says a good point too. Spend on lenses instead of bodies for now.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, I mean the lenses will last you. The lenses could last you a lifetime. The bodies are not going to.
And in that respect, we're back to where we were before, correct? I mean,
yeah.
When we were handling the D850 or the D3, D4, D5, okay, I mean, we will hold on those cameras and then buy whatever lenses we needed.
Yeah. Yeah. And Roy wants some more power zoom lenses. Well, did they yet say that they haven't come out with? I don't see anything with a date yet for that. I mean, they show pictures of the Nikon one that they're going to come out with, but they don't have a date. I don't see a date. I mean, and you guys see an actual date when it's going to come out?
Yeah. And you see the comment from Mossman. I do agree with that too. So this discussion is not to say that the cameras that we have are not capable. They are very capable. Correct. That's the best camera that we have. Correct. But there is still possibilities to do better. And I agree with you, Tim. I don't want my camera to create my images. What I was talking in the presentation was I want me to show me the potential, and then I decide. Correct? When I shoot raw, that's the beauty. I decide what to do.
But the ooh, yeah, stick us in the side. Why don't you stick us in the side? Just a knife between the rib cage. That's all. And we all know this to be a fact because we all fall into the enthusiast category for most of us.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, believe me, the percentage of pros that bought the Z9 versus the enthusiasts, I challenge the photo companies to do to put out something that really shows what group in their market bought, how many did a certain group in the market buy of a certain camera. You don't see any of them sharing that information, do you?
Well,
yeah, Tangent. That's the new digs back there. Yeah.
And I tell you something, Chuck. I'm glad that we are Nikon shooters because we got a very capable camera at the lowest price, the most capable lens at the lower price.
Yep.
So we certainly don't have anything to complain about.
That's right.
No.
But I agree with Tim. All these cameras are extremely capable, correct?
Yeah, I mean the other cameras are doing good things, but they cost more money, and and I get that for us.
Yes.
Hopefully that the Z9 II
yes
will stay in the 500 or $5,000
range. Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That would be great. I think if they can maintain those prices, give us some additional features without an increase of $2,000, that would be fantastic.
Yeah.
I think in the long run, more people will be willing to change the camera, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, you gotta keep the next one. You can't go up on the next one. I don't think, and I'm picking this as the ceiling. Is you don't want to be any more than $500 higher at the most. You gotta keep it. You gotta keep it $500 or less in terms of an increase in cost. I'm not into mics. I know Randall, you probably are, and probably maybe Chuck a little bit. They got that DJI mic mini came out, which they're talking about. Compact, ultralight, designed for content creators and videographers. 10 grams of weight, comfortable to wear. Says it'll provide stable recording and transmit high quality audio up to 1,312 feet away, even in noisy environments. Can run for 11 and a half hours. Receiver provides up to 10 hours. so you got plenty of time to do your recording. It says with the charging case, you can get up to 48 hours of battery life for both the transmitter and the receiver. And you have 2 noise cancellation settings on it, basic for quieter indoor settings, and strong, which is for extremely noisy environments to make sure you get clear vocals. So if you're doing a concert type setting, and it has automatic limiting, you don't have to worry about clipping, and it automatically adjusts the level of the audio input if the audio input's too high. So you get reliable audio quality at any setting, and it's $169 on Amazon, which is, I think, a pretty darn good price for those of you that are into looking for microphones for doing interviews or talking with people, out in the open, and putting a mic on them and having a conversation. Seems like a pretty good deal.
Yeah. And that reminds me another thing. These Japanese camera makers, Canon, Sony, and Nikon, they need to keep improving without increasing the prices, because one of these days, remind me that when you talk about DJI, would be a DJI full frame camera that is going to be a killer, correct? Yeah. And then they're going to be in trouble if they don't have their act together, and they'll start pricing things too heavy, right?
Well, look what happened to Viltrox.
Exactly.
I mean, they're coming up as a storm.
Yeah, they've come out with we haven't seen all the lenses that they're talking about, but say starting with that 16 millimeter lens that they came out with, from that and the 135 that will be coming out, that they've gotten reviews on, and they got a handful of lenses now that are at a completely different tier from the original lenses that they made early on, showing that obviously they've learned a lot from when they started off, and they're making great improvements, and they're still keeping the price, compared to everybody else, very low. So it'll be interesting to see how they continue to go, because if they become like a very strong third party lens manufacturer like a Sigma or a Tamron, and they're less than a Sigma or a Tamron, and obviously less than a native Sony glass or native Nikon glass or whatever, and they get that good, and who knows how long that may take, but it may not take as long as we think. That's going to force the main manufacturers might have to do a price cut on their lenses more often, because they're going to be, if you got a really good alternative and it's a third of the price.
I think we have David on the green room.
Eventually, you got to make some adjustments.
But Randall, you work.
David looks like he's in a cube trying to get out. Hey, you look like that guy, the angry photographer.
No, I think your hairstyle fits better than mine.
Randall, one area that I think the camera can improve, maybe I should add that to my list. I tell you, every time I shoot a video and I use one of these directional mics, I still don't like the quality of the sound. There is some hissing, and maybe it's my ignorance how to get them to work properly, but I think there's area for improvement on the audio side as well.
I want somebody to tell me what mic is perfect when you're, where I shoot, I have constant wind noise. I'm next to the ocean. Yeah. I get constant wind noise. I get the noise from the waves coming in. I get the noise from the wind blowing. I haven't found a way to work around that yet.
Exactly. Maybe I should add that better noise management in the hardware side.
Let me see if I have I got an email. Somebody sent me an email, David, that they said applies to people who live in Canada.
Uh-oh.
Oh,
Here we
careful.
go.
It's a Canadian joke.
Oh,
It's from our friend Jim. It's from
okay.
Jim. It's clean. There's
Let
nothing
it
wrong
be.
with it. It's a clean joke. So here's the joke. I had to find it. So he says, Canadian joke. How long have you been married? The person says 10 years, but it feels like 15 with the wind chill factor. See, that was a clean joke. How about
Yeah.
that? Yeah, everybody likes a clean joke. Let's see what else do I got here. I did look at Fuji a little bit, and we talked about their new they're talking about a fixed lens GFX camera that supposedly is going to come out by the end of the Japanese fiscal year, which is March 31st of 2025. Supposedly a 28 millimeter equivalent lens on a GFX camera. So who knows what the price point will be on that.
Is that a full frame or is that the medium format?
Medium format.
Medium format.
100 megapixel? Wow.
Probably 100 mega.
Yeah, probably 100. Yeah.
I mean, the Leica Q3 has the 61 megapixel. So does the Sony A7R5 or A7CR. But yeah.
The let me see. Gustavo put something up here. Oh,
That's for later. That's for later.
Okay. So then this was a good deal. I didn't really get into talking about all the sales out there because otherwise I'd just be like a talking salesman here. But what I thought was kind of neat was if you're into Fuji, they had their Fuji X-H2 body by itself, or if you buy it with the 16-80 kit lens, or if you buy an H-H2S body, you can get a free vertical grip and a 325 gigabyte Delkin Black CFE B card. That's like over $1,200 in stuff for free. So if you were seriously thinking about either one of those Fuji bodies, with or without kit lenses, they throw in a free grip and a 325 gigabyte Delkin Black card. That's a pretty sweet deal if you're looking for something Fuji related. And they did put out new firmware for those cameras, the X-H2S and the X-H2 and the GFX 100 version 2. So they've improved the autofocus. They had done some firmware. Fuji kind of tripped over themselves a little bit where they did some firmware updates and it affected their autofocus performance on some of their camera bodies.
Wow.
So they have put out new firmware for, I'm going to say, most, if not all, of these camera bodies, and the initial response is that the autofocus is back to where they expect it to be. So it looks like they may have fixed the problem. Although there's a comment from Fuji Rumors that says their position is that the cameras are workable again and you can go back to work confidently with the Fuji gear, but it is also true that the work is not yet finished and there is room for improvement. Well, we can always say there's room for improvement with any camera that you own, right? There's always something that you could say that you want it to be tweaked a little bit better. I'm still waiting for the rumored autofocus improvements to the Z9 that Nikon rumors talked about probably 6 months ago that never happened. So I'm going to hold my breath on that one, I guess. So that was really it for Fuji. Regarding Canon, they kind of just wrote a very long commentary saying it's been quiet on the EOS R6 Mark III front. And they said this time of year tends to be that way as companies are trying to sell you everything that they actually have to sell you. Said we're also seeing a lot of big discounts on the EOS R6 Mark II, and we're told that we may see further discounts sometime in December. The usual stock purge and volume sales to get those year-end numbers up so Canon can prepare their "we sold more than you" press release early next year. Yes, they are known for that. They said last week they were told that the EOS R6 Mark III is definitely coming in Q1 of 2025, with the obvious showcase coming for CP Plus in late February. Canon tends to announce something decent for a show on their home turf, though that hasn't always been the case, and Canon has waited until soon after such a show to make a major product announcement. And specification-wise, they say all we have heard have come from sources with spotty records directly sent to them, and another from Weibo. The specifications reported that far ahead of an announcement are to be taken with a proverbial grain of salt. They said it's safe. They say we think it's safe to expect the 24.1 megapixel sensor from the EOS R3 featured as Canon moves most of their lineup to stacked sensors. We're also expecting the EOS R6 Mark III to get a CF Express card slot. Another bit of information told them is that the EOS R6 Mark III will have something new with Bluetooth control, though there wasn't any specifics given to us. So then they actually, I find it interesting that Nikon rumors really only talks Nikon. Sony rumors pretty much talk Sony. Canon rumors will talk about everybody. They'll talk about Canon. They'll talk about, and here's a case where Canon rumors, they decided to talk about Leica. So they had an article. They said, whatever you think of Leica, they're obviously doing a lot of things right. They've reported that they have had the best financial results in their history. They claim they have seen growth in every region. So they're saying the biggest driver on the camera side of things is the hugely successful Q series of cameras, and they will likely sell a lot more of them now with the Leica Q3 43 millimeter camera that came out. It says the original Leica Q3 is perpetually out of stock at most retailers. They've hit a niche part of the camera market quite well. Some people just want a well-built, fixed lens, full-frame camera with great image quality. This guy says, I have owned every Q series camera over the course of the series, and they're all great. However, they're not for everyone. He says, I've owned the Leica SL series of cameras and lenses as well. And he says, as great as the Vario Elmarit SL 24-90 f2.8-4 and the 90-280 f2.8-4R, the cameras still have a lot to be desired in regards to autofocus performance. Even the latest SL3 is very sluggish. Leica makes no mention of how well this series is doing. The rebadged Sigma lenses are also a bit disappointing to see. So apparently they're buying some lenses from Sigma and putting the Leica name on them. They said it was a sad day when he traded those two lenses in because I disliked the camera so much. And comments go further to say not much into the M system anymore. It just costs too much for what it gives in this day and age. He still has a Canadian-made M4, but it rarely gets used in favor of his Mamiya 6 MF. And they said it would be nice to see what they can do with the upcoming mirrorless S system. The lenses are amazing, but the cameras were way overpriced for their performance. A rethink is definitely needed. So yeah, it's interesting that Canon does report on other brands on occasion and has some interesting commentary. Whether one chooses to agree or disagree with it, it's completely up to you. But it is just their commentary. Just like what we talk about on this show is our commentary. I don't have a special 8-ball where I could shake it and say, is the Z92 coming out in the first quarter of 2025? And the thing will spin around and say, I don't think so, Jeff. But you never know, right? I mean, we all have we all want certain things, and we all have slightly different opinions. But that's pretty much it for the rumor side of things. Let me just, have we missed anything in the chat, guys, that we should
So
bring up?
interesting commentary there about Hasselblad or DJI Hasselblad marketing on trying to get market penetration by giving some of the Hassies to the YouTubers.
Hey, Assy, here I am. There's wait a minute. Let me get my right foot. And there's Chuck. There's Chuck. Okay.
I just released the XP3 at 150 megabyte.
Here's Jeff. Here's Chuck. Send some Hassies our way. We'll play with them. We'll tell you what we think of them. We'll be honest. Send them our way.
John Ishii. Yeah.
Yeah, John. Send them to John Ishii. Send them to us, man. Yeah, John's saying cheap $8,000 for the 20 to 35 Hassie lens. Oh, gee, only $8,000. My God, that's just John. That we know that's a drop in a bucket for you. Just go out and shoot a few more bodies. You'll have the $8,000. And David's saying Thomas Heaton has a numbered Hasselblad, but he went back to his Nikon Z8.
Just more practical.
Yeah, I found that kind of funny because his Hasselblad that he has, he got it free, and it was a special edition, and it was a numbered one, so it's worth more there. And I think that's his second Hasselblad, but the last number of videos that he had is using his Z8, and his Hassies were nowhere to be seen.
Well, John's not using his, I guess, because he's saying he's using his Z6 III for all his travel.
And he said Diana got rid of all of her cues, whatever they are.
Oh,
Leica.
Yeah.
The Leica.
They're the 24 megapixel.
Okay.
Then the Q2 was 47, and
Well,
then
and the point that John is making is that, again, when you travel, you have to make compromises, correct? And then sometimes the camera that you have to take is the one that is the more versatile. And for him at this moment seems to be the Z6 III.
Yeah, yeah. When you get to our age, weight is a big concern.
And with regard to the Hassies, I saw that one of these, I don't remember his name, but another of these landscape photographers, correct? He said the images that he was getting with his Hasselblad were fantastic. But for him, who had to do all this walk to these special locations in the Dolomite and in Greenland and Iceland, he still preferred to use a more compact camera, correct?
Yeah, and Thomas Heaton is only young. He's still in pretty decent shape.
Yeah.
It's not like us old fogies on the panel here.
Yeah, but uphill, even 1 extra kilo is a lot, right?
Hey, stop complimenting us, David. Us old fogies. No more compliments. Mozman's pointing out to me that Canon Rumors guy doesn't have other sites, while Nikon Rumors has the Fuji Pentax and General Rumors site as well.
Mhm.
Okay. And John agrees with the narrative that the SL blanks. Kevin, good to see you.
Yeah.
Oh, this is funny. Told my wife I'm buying a Hasselblad. She asked how much are they. Told her how glorious her meatloaf dinners are. Not working yet. Yeah, I've been telling my wife how great her pies are. I'm trying to set her up for something, but I haven't figured out yet what it is.
Is this a long-term project, Jeff, or a short-term one?
Well, first I had to negotiate to we had a few people over for Thanksgiving dinner, and she was going to make 2 pumpkin pies and 1 apple pie, and I said, I'd really like to have 2 apple pies. So she says, well, I only have 3 pie plates.
Yeah.
I says, well, I'll buy you the 4th one. So we go to the store. I buy her the 4th one, and she just smiled. And I says, you're gonna make 2 apple pies, and I'm getting the look like not really. Just because you bought that doesn't mean nothing. So I kind of said, well, I'll make a deal with you. I'll buy the plate, and I'll peel and core all the apples for you. So I'll save you some of the work. And that's how I got the 2nd apple pie. And that's still downstairs. That's just for us. We didn't go through 4 pies on Thanksgiving. So I get to have pie for like another week, I think. Tim's saying he talks himself out of buying a Q3 quite often.
Yes.
Yeah. I don't need another camera system. I got enough as it is.
Yeah. So can you put the 800 on a Hasselblad?
But I'm sure Albert can make an adapter for a Hasselblad lens onto a Nikon.
Roy's saying Hassie has an 800 millimeter V lens. How much, Roy?
All the money in the world.
Is that like is that like a new car? Does that have the new car smell to go with it? Gee, this lens smells like a new car. That's because it costs as much as a new car.
Yeah, Mercedes.
What's wrong with Mercedes?
Nothing. I just do. Which is cheaper, the 800 Hassie or Mercedes?
Yes.
Probably the 800.
Kevin wants to know how much is the cheapest Hasselblad?
It's not the cost of the bodies that hurt you. It's the cost of the lenses.
Yeah.
Oh, even the bodies though are over $7,000, aren't they?
Yeah, they are.
Yeah, so you're paying over $7,000 for the body, and then you could be paying, almost that much for some of the lenses, right?
Or more. Like I said, my macro 120s, 12K it was.
But when Thomas Heaton got his Hassie, it included a lens, and he got it for the big price of $0.
But the thing is, medium formats are still very clumsy to use. Probably ideal for landscape that he does, but I wouldn't use it for many other things.
Well, do you feel that there's been a lot of comparisons back and forth between whether, obviously there's a fair cost difference between whether you buy the medium format Fuji camera versus a Hasselblad, and of course the Fuji lenses are cheaper, but most of the time, maybe not all the time, but most of the time the reviewers have said they were a little bit happier with the image quality out of the Hasselblad versus the Fuji.
More the camera than the lens. Both lenses are pretty good.
Is that still that way now with the new version of the Fuji? Is that better?
Well,
I
they
haven't
didn't
had a chance to
say.
play with
Yeah.
Yeah, but the
Well,
thing is, when you go to make a print, how big of a print are you going to make, and does it really make a difference between being 50 megapixels and round figures for the Nikon, or being 100? You know,
Printing, you can
Well,
get away with a lot.
Well, the Hassie lenses have the shutters in the lenses too, right?
That
So
will cost more.
that's why they're more money.
yeah, and just think their flash sync speed would be really high because of that.
It is.
It is, yeah. You could shoot at anything
If you're in
you
the
want.
studio, the Hassie's a way to go. Mainly because of the shutter in the lens.
Yeah.
I know quite a few use them for portraits.
Yes. Got
So,
lovely color size.
Well, John's wife had a Q1 and a Q2. But,
And Albert says you can practically adapt every Hassie lens to a Nikon camera.
Yep.
You know, so
I've got the adapters.
Yeah, but he tears them apart and then he puts them in
Put them
the
back
case.
together again. Yeah, I know. That's half the fun.
see, David Mosman says weight's a concern, but you travel with 5 cameras and 5 tripods.
and that doesn't include my drones.
There's a lot of new tripods out in the market from Small Rig and that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they're light.
Yeah, Luis's comment here is, I think, typical of a serious photographer that it's always the gear over the clothes, right? I'll bring 2 pairs of pants. I'll bring two pairs of everything, and I'll just wash them every day.
Just buy the clothes wherever you are.
Yeah,
That's
Cheaper.
wise. Yeah.
That's why
Some
he
of the new
goes to warm climates, so he doesn't need many clothes.
That's right.
Australia. Some of the new airlines are charging more for extra luggage as well.
Yeah.
They're very fussy on carry-ons.
John's just a poison Nikon fanboy. And Roy, tell us what you really think.
I better not.
Oh no, Roy, you actually admitted this?
What's that? Yeah.
100, 12 grand.
Yeah, but that's Australian.
Yeah, Australian. That's about 9K American, I think.
Oof.
Oh,
Painful.
Sigma Big Green Monster is like
Stunning
20.
lens, though.
Robert, does anybody remember when Nikon came out with the 300 millimeter f2? They were giving a free Hugo with it.
Where am I? That's it.
oh
About
my
the size
goodness.
of a 600 PF.
Oh wow. Yeah. Beautiful.
Wow.
Great lens. Not small though.
How is it heavy?
Oh yes,
Yeah,
it's heavy.
it's heavy.
So you get your money's worth then.
That's a knee breaker if you drop it right now. It'll break your knee.
And a bank breaker.
Yeah, I think the thing with overseas travels that would drive me crazy is if you have to change planes multiple times, and then eventually if you end up having to go on a puddle jumper to get to your front, like if you're going to Alaska, lots of times you got to go on a puddle jumper to get to where you want to go. So you can't take anywhere near as much stuff with you when you go on that puddle jumper than when you're on the original flight to get to
Which is
Alaska.
lighting gear as well. Lighting gear is very bulky. and for some reason they don't like my little white bags of powder, my silicon. They don't like that for some reason at the airport.
Well, do you get the German shepherds come up to you like sniffing it?
No, but the other people are very interested.
Say
Don't
say
take
well
over.
if you decide to snort this stuff, all I can say is your insides are going to dry out real quick.
They certainly would.
But yeah, I hope everybody. I'm just going to put a reminder up again for those that came in later in the show about next week being the photo review, the 7th of the month. We're at what did I say? 40 pictures, I think, with what Randall sent me. 40 images so far. It would be nice to get that up by about 30 more if we can. So I realize with the holidays, that's more important than sending me pictures, but you got another week to do so. So maybe by the middle of next week, you could start trickling in some images to me. Would be great. Because that's going to be our last photo review for 2024 as well. And also
no more photo reviews.
Yeah, also for those of you who maybe have not frequented the show in the last couple weeks, I'm going to, near the end of each week, I'll remind everybody of this, is that my doing a weekly live stream is ending at the end of December. I will continue to do the photo review. So we will have a photo review the first Saturday of every month, like we always have. And I'll continue to do it through my channel. And you'll get the notifications through selective imagery on YouTube. So none of that changes. But for the second Saturday in January of next year, Chuck is going to be back doing the live stream for all the other Saturdays in the month, except for the first Saturday of every month. And that will be through AP Studios and Chuck Talks. So you will have to get the links from his channel to watch those live streams starting the second Saturday in January of next year. So please come out and support him and the team and the cast of characters who will join him as did before. And I hope that you still put a little reminder on your calendar for a photo review the first Saturday of every month, and continue to send me images for that. Obviously I'm cutting back, but I still want to have my toe in the water a little bit here. And the photo review is a big, passionate thing for me. So I'm going to keep it going for as long as I can. And in the meantime, the regular scheduled programming for the rest of the month will be through Chuck Talks on AP Studios. And make sure you go there, and Chuck will decide what the format's going to be, because it's going to be his show. So he'll do what he wants to do with the format. If you have any suggestions or comments to make regarding it as you go to his show or whatever, then that's up to you to make comments in the chat or send him emails or what have you. And obviously the people that partake in being on the panel on his show, I'm sure will have plenty of ideas for him to try to make sure that the show goes well for everyone. But the sense of community, the community is still intact. The community is not going away. It's just going to be, typically three Saturdays a month with Chuck and one Saturday a month with me. So I figure you can only put up with me once a month anyway. So that's probably a good thing. But I thank you for all your support over the last year and a half or so. This is what episode 71 is it today? I forget, somewhere around there. But we got a few more shows to go, and we got the last photo review for 2024. So let's make it a good one. Let's end 2024's photo review on a good note and send in some pictures, and that's that. I don't have enough time to share it tonight or talk about it. I'll just show it to you here. Is I finally got it. Took a little bit of while. Took a little while. No, it's not speaking well. A little bit of while. That's a good sentence. That's all, folks. Is I got finally got my knicker mat FT2 back the other day. So this is from 1975. So I'll talk about this more on another show. But I sent this out to have a full CLA done on it, new seals, check the accuracy of the metering system, adjust the shutter speeds, make sure they're accurate, which they are. And everything is top notch now, works perfect. This was at the time available in a chrome body or a black. I got the black, and this camera is in near mint condition.
Wow, looks great.
But it's near mint condition. No big scratches anywhere. It has a push.
What lens do you have on it?
It's got an old push pull Vivitar 35 to 70 f2.8 to 3.8 macro lens, push pull zoom.
Get rid of it. Get a real lens.
Macro. Well, that's what came with it when I bought it. So I got other lenses I could put on it, but it's not a bad lens. I looked at the reviews; it actually got pretty good reviews. But I'll go over the camera more another day. It's interesting. Yet, for some, it would definitely be a very frustrating camera to use. It has its quirks, but the main thing is, the Nicker mats came out 6 years after the Nikon F did. Okay, the Nicker mats came out, and the whole point of that was obviously not everybody could afford a Nikon F.
Mm-hmm.
So the Nicker mats came out, and they were considerably cheaper, but they were not made cheap. They were made very, very well. And this is a full mechanical shutter. This is a fully mechanical camera. The battery is strictly for the exposure meter inside. There's nothing else in there electronic. It's just for the metering system. So this camera, if treated right, I mean, we're talking a 1975 camera here. So, we're already at
49 years.
We're almost at 50 years. And I'll tell you, this camera will be around another 50 years if it's taken care of. No problem at all. No problem at all. And that's the beauty of a mechanical camera. These electronic cameras that we're all used to will not last 50 years. They will have electrical failures, and they will not work. And but the mechanical ones, and obviously people are with Kodak shutting their plant down to basically refurbish it to put new equipment in to keep up with film demand. Obviously, there are people that are out there buying these old film cameras and using them, and hey, that's good. I mean, photography's photography. I mean, I don't care what you're using to capture the image with. The fact that you go out there and do it and enjoy it is all that matters, right? We all keep ourselves in the game, and of course we're always looking for a good deal. We're always looking for something. But
so how many years was it that the Nicomat available? From 75 to when do they stop making those?
Well, they came out. I think the first one that came out was the the first one that came out was actually I think they just called it, let me see. Let me find my notes here. They had an FT, so they had like different variations. They had like four of these models that each one was slightly better than the one before, whether it be the metering system or whatnot. Of course, the major difference in the cost cutting was you had a fixed pentaprism on the camera with a focusing screen, one focusing screen, which kept the price really, really low. Where the F body was the professional body. You could put all sorts of focusing screens on it. You could put different pentaprisms on it. You could put you could have the eye point the original eye point sensor with no metering in it. You could get the photo mic that had the metering it, exposure meter in it. You had all these different options that you could choose from. So it was a very versatile system, but you paid for that. And and here I'll give you a dollar comparison. In 75, by the time 75 rolled around, the FT2 cost between $200 to $250. And that variance was whether or not you got what dealer you went to and whether you had a lens on the body or not. If you got a Nikon F2, which in 1972, that F2 sold for $660 with a 50 millimeter f1.4 lens on it. So you had it was probably more than double the price of the Nikon series of cameras. So you could see why one was the Nikon was marketed for the amateur market, but it was a well-built camera. And the Nikon F was it was the Nikon F. What can you say, right?
But with film, the body was much less important than the lenses. It was all about the lenses. Exactly. You could use all the Nikon lenses on the Nikomat.
Exactly.
Yeah. Body wasn't that critical. Just hold the film.
But whether you have an accurate meter and a reliable shutter, okay.
Well, it was interesting. That Roy could probably explain this better. I haven't. My mind hasn't grappled with this concept yet, or with this statement yet. Because when I wrote to the person when I sent the camera in to have them go through the camera, I said, well, when I would say I'd focus, get on my deck on my second floor here, get on my deck with my mirrorless camera and get the settings to where I got a good exposure. Right, I'd write down what those settings were. I try to use those same settings on the Nikon, and if I use those same settings on the Nikon, I was like 3 stops overexposed. So I said, wow, the metering system's got to be way, way off. So the guy went through it. He says, your metering system is like almost perfect. He says, you cannot compare the metering. You can't compare how a film camera meters compared to a digital camera. Says you can't compare the two. Now, I don't know exactly why you can't compare the two. He says you cannot compare the two. He says the meter in your camera was only off by 1/4 of a stop, which is well within the range of the spec out of the factory. So he didn't mess with the metering system at all. He says you're within 1/4 of a stop. But like I said, the settings when I'm comparing it to a modern day mirrorless camera, the settings are totally different. But according to him, you can't compare the mirrorless camera exposure metering system
pretty good, though.
To what is in the
That's
film.
What you need. Light meter.
Well, I have that too.
Start with that instead.
Yeah. So, but anyway, I'm happy with what the guy did, and this was the one I think I told you I was blind that day when this body was in such good shape. I screwed up. I'll admit it. I screwed up. I didn't see something that should have been so obvious that I kicked myself in the behind a lot. The ears for the camera strap were sheared off the camera.
Oh,
They weren't even there. They were like sheared off the camera. So that's another thing he fixed. He was able to take the old ones out and put new
Strap lugs.
new strap lugs on for me.
That's strange, correct?
And
Because the camera that was so good.
but for what I paid for it, and what I paid to have him go through it, the camera's worth twice what I put into it.
yeah.
So I can't complain.
So-
But we'll talk about it more another day because I don't want to go too much past
And that
our-
is the camera has a center weighted metering
center weighted metering. Yeah.
All right,
And-
boys.
Okay.
But
So let me show.
we're-
I think we can leave my photo for next week, or in 2 weeks, or I can show
We
some
can,
what
we can
what's
show
going
it
on.
next week. We can show it next week.
Exactly.
We'll show it next week.
I show you guys what is going on here with the mule deer rot, which are the bachelors that are coming around here trying to service the females. Right?
Do they have that show where you are, the Bachelor and the Bachelorette?
Yes, mule deer style.
Rut 1 and Rut 2.
Yes.
They could have the dating game. They could do the dating game. And here we have Rut 1 and Rut 2.
I think Truck is trying to get a word in edgewise here.
Yeah, I'm just going to tell you, I'm headed to bed.
Well, we are too.
Yeah. See you later.
I'm not gonna say we're gonna join you because that would sound a little freaky.
Right.
Exactly.
Yes, it would.
See you next week, Chuck.
We're gonna
See
say
you,
good night to everybody.
Night.
Good night, everybody. We're taking off. We'll see you next Saturday.
All right, buddy. Bye-bye.
Take care.
Well, Jeff, my Nichromat EL is a year older than yours, and Anita paid 500 Canadian for it. Yeah.
I'm gonna end the stream, guys. So take it easy, and then I'll talk to you guys.